You can take pictures. You can make movies. You have unlimited access to all areas. For the first time in their career, Genesis are allowing someone other than a producer into their studio. Up until now, they have kept everyone else out. They have been private about the creation of their work. Very private. Before now, no one has been allowed behind the scenes at a Genesis recording session. In the past, the producer hasn't even been allowed an assistant in the studio. But now, Mike Rutherford, Tony Banks, and Phil Collins are getting together again after spending time on their solo careers. They find themselves in a very public position. Their last album, Invisible Touch, sold many millions of copies and generated 5 hit singles. Now Genesis are under the spotlight in public. They are going to allow a spotlight in private. You are invited to look and listen as they create their first record in 5 years. They are going to write and record the album that will be called We Can't Dance. It will take them 6 months, but they don't know that yet. They just know it will be hard work.
I do most of the work. I write the songs and I sing them and I drum and I play keyboards. But I have to give Tony and Phil a bit of credit so they don't feel left out.
Let's be honest. It's truth time.
Question number 1, boys and girls.
Oh dear,
Act 1, scene 1. Are you ever surprised people are still interested in you?
Titles. Thank you. It's so long between albums, I suppose. We've got a definite big core of hardcore fans, a large number of hardcore fans. But, you know, sometimes you're surprised that when records selling such great numbers, as the last one did, that people still remember who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking we've been going for 25 years nearly. And I haven't supported any band for more than about 2 albums. Who's got the money?
During this half year, Genesis will be assisted only by their 5 long-standing personal team.
How many people work for you?
There's Howie.
Well, he doesn't work, does he?
No, he doesn't.
I used to be the merchandiser. I used to sell the T-shirts. And I met Pud and Jeff on another tour, Jethro Tull tour, that I was selling the T-shirts for.
I mean, full-time, we have about 4 or 5 people, don't we? We have basically the studio staff.
The first band I worked with was Brand X, who Phil was playing in between the Genesis tours and albums. And when they split up, Phil offered me a job just, you know, looking after his drums, which I didn't know anything about at the time, but you know, I learned.
There's a crew, a hardcore crew, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the 2 guys who run the farm and the roadies. I mean, it feels like, to me, quite a small operation, really.
Maintenance, studio manager, keep the studio running. I knew some of the guys that worked with Genesis, because we used to sort of hang out in the same sort of warehouse place. And they were going out on the road, and they needed a technician. And so they offered me a job for 3 months for the tour, and 11 years later I'm still here.
I've worked for Mike since I started, long time. I used to be his roadie, but then when they bought the place, they wanted somebody to look after it, and it was right up my street, really. I liked the idea, so I kind of look after the farm, take care of the general stuff.
We had this dream for years that we'd have our own studio one day. Just the idea that you can go in and write, and the minute you've got a piece of music that sounds good, you can record it. Has always been one of our dreams, I think. And we realized it on the Abacab album. and subsequent albums since then, you know, and things like, one of the best examples is a song like Mama, which was actually written and recorded within hours of actually sort of writing it. It was written and recorded at the same time.
If you're not in Genesis, what band would you like to be in?
Heads.
Chronologue.
Medicine Head.
Jan Dukes de Grey?
Stray.
Well,
Yes.
it goes without saying, I think if you know, in a perfect world, I mean, it would have been lovely to have been that shy, unassuming group, the Beatles. I mean, it would have been lovely to have been a part of that. But in realistic terms, I mean, groups that you play music of, I guess. I mean, Cream would have been a great group to have been in.
Short career.
Yeah, the Beatles, Cream. Can't think of, you know.
Cream. The Beatles.
Cream.
The Beatles Cream.
Genesis' studio is called simply The Farm. It is located in an old farm in the county of Surrey. When they begin an album, the three men have no preconceived ideas of how it will turn out.
Phil,
Yes.
do you think of yourself as a drummer who sings?
Or a singer of drums.
A swinger.
Swinger.
Or a
Well,
swinger.
it goes without saying that I think I'm a swinger kind of guy.
Yes.
A sex
You're a
guy.
drummer or a swinger? Well, high five.
I still think of myself as a drummer that sings, but I think my drumming is still better than my singing.
Oh no.
No. There's one in there's one in Eastbourne, yeah. Next.
When they begin at the farm, they search for interesting sounds they might use on a record.
What I like about the way we work now is that, okay, you miss out one side, which is kind of individual songs, which is a different way of writing. But the idea is that you can do that on your solo career. Phil and Tony and me and Mike and the Mechanics, which is good. And so Genesis we kind of keep now for just going in and writing it together. I think what we do, I mean, it's always so intangible to say what we're all about. There's a certain kind of chemistry that seems to happen when the three of us improvise and play and mess around together and just make sounds. And it seems to me it's the kind of music that we can't do. It's different to what we do on our own. It's a combination of those sort of sounds and ideas.
At the start, Tony and Mike each play without knowing what the other will do, and Phil sings along with whatever comes into his head, nonsense syllables or a group of words, some of which may survive to the record.
Lead a single of it and do a little sort of guitar.
Drum solo.
I'm first.
First one, what?
It's very nice to play the little lead licks.
So what did you say? You said something about vocals.
A lot of these songs.
Yeah?
So if you get in for the singing, you'll be alright.
That's it. There's less lyrics to write, you know. Guitar solo.
Somewhere in there, I feel
Keyboard
if,
solo.
rather than come back to a vocal, I don't know where, but
If you don't want me to sing, George, I won't sing. If
you could do.
you want me to sing, I'll sing. If you don't want me to sing, I won't sing. All right? There are disagreements, but only... No, I
I missed
understand.
that, sorry. This
No, it's okay, you didn't miss much. But I mean, I'm taking over your answer, but over 20 odd years, I think it's, given the track record of most groups, I think it is extraordinary. I'm getting teary-eyed here. But that we actually get
It's
on
very
very well,
sweet.
you know, and we actually get on and we like each other and we have a lot of laughing in the studio, and I think that's very important.
Because they have always been alone when they record, Genesis have come to trust each other with their musical experiments and feel awkward with outsiders.
because of the way we tend to write, which is very much with Phil sort of la-laing his way through things, and Mike is playing guitar, a lot of the time, because Mike is sort of, you know, obviously doesn't know what chord I'm going to play next or something, it's much better to let the thing flow.
It's already right. By the time I see the children cry, tell me why.
The way I I'm sure we all write words differently, you know, I know we do, but the way I write words is that when we're writing the music, that's to say whether we're writing it as Genesis or whether I'm writing it on my own, I'll improvise while we're writing. And that's why you have to be around people you know and not have people around you don't know, because a lot of the time you sing rubbish, you know, and a lot of the time we play rubbish. And so you really, you don't care if it's just the three of you. And eventually, if you do that long enough, and you know, over a period of years, you learn to free your mind a bit, and just to sort of improvise without even thinking about it. And those words that you improvise, you try and use, or I do.
Back in the mid-70s or something, you know, I think Mike and I tended to dominate the writing very much, you know, that was how it was. And, you know, nowadays I'd say it's very much split between the three of us. And I think in a band I prefer that. It's much better if everyone's got a sort of equal thing, and everyone feels equally kind of responsible for the result and equally proud of the result.
Genesis co-producer and engineer on We Can't Dance, Nick Davis.
We haven't actually got an engineer, but Nick's going to be answering the phone for the
reception. How do you divide the production responsibilities between the band and Nick Davis?
Well, in a sense, you come to depend on the person who's behind the knobs, which in this case is obviously Nick. And it's kind of very difficult to work out the lines, because you are all working towards the same thing.
Well, I think the plan is to come in next week and just put guide parts down to the songs that are in a state for doing that. Basic keyboards, basic guitars and drums, and then I think Phil wants to do real drums on songs that need real drums before moving on to the next stage. I think what was just said.
That would be the highlight of the recording.
This is the history of what became a hit song, No Son of Mine, starting from a noise called Elephant.
Please explain the reasons for working titles and give examples.
Working titles? Is it me? Heads or tails?
No, you go. You just answer.
Oh, I see. All right, I'll answer it. Working titles are really just a label you hang on a song so that when you talk about it next time, you remember what you're talking about. It's really just the first thing that comes into your mind, which is going to be something you can remember it by.
This track, what's it called?
Elephant, at the moment. Why? Why? Because of this, I think. I would have thought.
That sort of funny noise here at the beginning was a sort of sample I did of sort of noise in the rehearsal room, which was mainly Mike, but fiddling around with it, playing it backwards and sort of doing funny things to it. And it was really playing that, and as soon as I played that with the chord, we had a song, we knew that.
We were sitting in that room writing, and we came to the chorus, what was to become the chorus. I was singing, "No son of mine, no son, you're no son." And Mike said to me when we came to writing the lyrics, or dishing out the songs, to saying, "Well, I'd like to write that one. I'd like to write that one, blah, blah, blah." You know, he said, "On that song, it sounds like you're singing No Son of Mine." And I don't know what I was singing, really. I was singing something like that. But then suddenly he put that in my mind, that's what I'd been singing. And so at that point, I went and wrote the lyrics that made sense of what I'd improvised. The story is a young boy, I don't know how old, maybe 11, 12 years old, who basically he lives in a family of abuse. The father is the bad guy, and he just can't stand it anymore. The friction in the house, the fact that every night the guy comes home and drunk and just either molests him or abuses his mother. that's really what it's about. And of course the boy, as he gets older, he realises he misses his family and can't believe that his father was all that bad, and he goes back and sees his father, plucks up courage to go back home, knocks on the door with his heart in his mouth, not knowing what the reaction is going to be, and all his father is exactly the same, you know. And I said, you know, king's son of mine, son. Cough out of it.
What are you up to at the moment?
Just trying to come up with ideas for the end of Rolling Toms. When I should just take over, do my thing. Just think I'll be best. I go to pieces if you ask questions.
How's it been getting on? How you been getting on with your lyrics?
2 down, 1 to go.
Which ones are the ones that you've gone for?
Wrote BB Hit, which I'm doing now, which is probably going to be called Never the Right Time. It's never the right time. Never the right time to say, or something like that. It'll have the word never in the title.
There is never a time to say.
Okay.
This is the first time Phil Collins has been filmed recording a Genesis lead vocal.
There is never a time to say. 'Cause it seems to me we've lost our way, so we carry on down the road, and we live our lives haunted by all the things.
All right.
Can't you see what's going on?
Okay.
'Cause we're all played out, we've lost our way, and I hope
The vocal on BB Hit, which will become Never a Time, is not coming easily.
Okay.
and we live our lives haunted by all the things.
The melody on the first So Sad at the end there,
Yeah.
it's sort of a thing. I'd be nice if we didn't go down quite as far, I think. So you go so sad. If it just went so sad, so sad. Just because it doesn't really go with the chord that's
So sad,
Just
so
try-
sad.
Yeah.
Actually, do you want to hear Twiddle you did on the old one? Because it's a really nice twiddle you used to do.
Fine. There's a better
Maybe
one.
that's it, Gary, for a bit.
He's still the same miserable guy he always was. No, he's still Phil. That doesn't really he hasn't changed very much in that sense. I think the way the public perceive or imagine that we operate, they seem to think somehow that because he's done so incredibly well as a solo artist, it affects what happens in here in the studio. Don't quite know why, but maybe they seem to think that, he kind of steams in and says, "Now what we're doing, lads, is, it hasn't really changed us, the studio, very much, I don't think."
But you didn't play that bass drum.
This bass drum you're hearing now, I didn't play. This is a machine.
Steve Gadd played it.
I wasn't good enough to play it, that's why.
Do you all do what you want to do?
Well, we do, but we compromise with each other. That's the only thing we do, really. I mean, I know nowadays that there are certain kind of chord changes that Mike and Phil, are not so into. I slip 1 or 2 in on the album, really, when they're not looking, And once I've heard it enough times and they like it, There's a good example at the beginning of Hold on My Heart. That's sort of the opening bit of that, the way it goes into the main song, as an example of the sort of things I like a lot when you sort of unusual chord changes, so it sort of just sets the song off on a different motion.
Do it again.
Huh?
Oh, that's weird.
Huh? I do now, actually.
That's just a dodgy button. Dodgy button, Jeff.
Hold on my heart, hold on my heart.
Burt Bacharach's one of my early heroes, really. And I love the way he uses chords and was able to have big hits with songs that used a multitude of chords. And I suppose the song Hold on My Heart, which we call Bert, you know, has an element of that.
Provisionally named after the composer Burt Bacharach, Bert becomes Hold on My Heart.
Hold on my heart, just hold on to that feeling. We both know we've been here before. We both know what can happen. Hold on my heart, 'cause I'm looking over your shoulder. Ooh, please don't rush in this time. Don't show her how you feel. So hold on my heart. Throw me a lifeline. I'll keep a place for you somewhere deep inside. Hold on my heart, please. Tell her to be patient, 'cause there has never been a time that I wanted something more. If I can recall this feeling, then I know there's a chance where I will be there. Yes, I will be there. Be there for you whenever you want me to.
Recognise would have said nearly all the whole of my house are really good. You sang that one.
Okay, I think there's a few lines I'd like to do on this track that I think we need in the choruses and verses. In chorus 2, I'll keep a place for you. That line.
Yeah.
Okay, and the verse that follows, lines 1 and 3. Hold on my heart, and because there has never been a time. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's just do those.
Hold on my heart, don't let her see you crying.
These guys, for instance, they haven't been together for 5 years, have they? Since Invisible Touch. And I've been away and done solo projects. Phil's been on tour, Mike's done a couple of albums, Tony's done a couple of albums. And so when they come back together, they're fresh. There's the three of them together. And I mean, of what I've heard so far, you know, of what they're doing on this new album, I mean, it's definitely fresh.
Well, I mean, that's the reason for doing all the stuff outside. You couldn't just do the group, you know, for this length of time. We'd have gone nuts, I think. But, and you wouldn't get any new input, you know. But, I mean, since we've all done quite a lot outside, each time you come back and make a new album, you're bringing new ideas in, and that seems to make it work.
Well, it's nothing to do with me.
It's nothing to do with me either. It's nothing to do with me.
Yeah, but it's Tony's video.
During the 6 months Genesis are recording We Can't Dance, Tony Banks releases a single with Nick Kershaw, who recently wrote the hit song The One and Only. They meet again to make a promotional video.
I mean, you know, that's just switched off, isn't it? You know?
So
no.
When's the next Genesis?
That's a very good question. But we're hoping to get it out before Christmas.
It's me. It's a question for me. Do you ever listen to Mike and the Mechanics? Yes, I do. I've listened to it. I have all the albums. I like a lot of it. I love Paul Carrick's voice. Paul Carrick could sing the Telephone Directory. As far as I'm concerned, he's got a wonderful voice.
Mike Rutherford, Paul Carrick, and the other mechanics convene for a photo session to publicize their latest record.
Who would you have chosen for the Ivor Novello Songwriter of the Year award?
Who would I have chosen?
Phil Collins won the Ivor Novello Award for Songwriter of the Year.
Did he win it this year?
Yes. I had no argument with the decision at all. Who's I don't know anybody else. I only listen.
These working trips to London, the promotional leftovers of their solo work, are the only breaks Genesis get from recording We Can't Dance. They record at the farm all spring and all summer of 1991.
It's right on the front. Oh, that one. Oh.
Thrown a couple of songs out, Shoreline and Bass Botty, much to Tony's upset.
This song will not make the album. In 6 months, 17 songs are written, 14 are recorded, and 12 make it onto We Can't Dance.
Mike, when you are recording guitar parts, what is the most important element? Sound textures or precision of your playing?
To try and do it when Tony and Phil aren't in the room.
So you can get it loud.
Yeah.
So we can go out and do something more interesting. Yeah.
Now, I must say, on this album, it's been really easy to get a sound. Nick Davis has got a really good sound. I mean, actually, in fact, the last Mechanics album and this one, I've used just amplifiers. Just valves. I'm sure you want to know this, right? It's a B22 valve linked to a D33, and I'll parallel them up. I've used valve
just the same
amplifiers.
as the last album, yeah?
The point being is I haven't used fuzz boxes anymore, it's valve amps.
I mean, it's not like virtuoso playing, is it? It's not that. No, no, but we're not about that, really. No, it's more like there's a sound that creates an atmosphere or something. So consequently,
it is. Plus the other thing, I mean, a lot of what we do, it tends to guitar-wise, especially, I just sort of do on the spot. I don't work out a part. I just go in there and play loud. And...
All right.
When you're bored or something like that.
Yeah, next question.
That was boring.
All the provisional Genesis titles are eventually changed. A good example is Irish.
I think Irish, I mean, which is now called Driving the Last Spike, is very strong. I think it's probably one. I mean, for me, I think it's one of Phil's best lyrics he's ever done in Genesis, and I think it's extremely strong.
So, what is that song about, actually?
It's ask him. It's easy. He'll tell you anyway.
I remember this book, which I was sent by Dennis Waterman, actually, because he was going to make a film of it. And he sent me the book because he wanted me to be in it. But the work that these guys did on the railway to make the English railways it's a very touching story because they left their families, and some of them never went home again. Some of them died very young because of the amazing conditions they were living in and working in. And the accidents they had were pretty horrific. And even if they did survive, the strain on their backs and the physical strain of doing the job was just quite incredible. So I've written the words based on that, based on one person's view of it, who leaves his family, not knowing if he's going to go back. He goes to work on the railways and witnesses this horrendous accident and the deceit, because the people that were in charge of building the railways didn't really care. You know, I mean, it was all hush-hush, all the deaths. I mean, no one really sort of... If you weren't in that community, you didn't know about it. And so there's that sort of that shock of finding out that no one really cared about it. And then the fact that the guys really were sort of breed unto themselves, you know, and eventually he becomes hardened to the whole thing. So it's quite, that's a 10-minute song, so there's a lot of 4 pages of words.
Wanted more. We sweat and we toil, good men lost their lives. Don't think they knew what for. I sold them my heart, I sold them my soul, I gave everything I had.
What would you think if your children decided to get into this business?
I wouldn't really care one way or the other. I'd prefer if they didn't, in a way, just because it's a business I know, so it'd be more fun if they're doing something I didn't know. But I mean, it's up to them what they do, really. I don't think there's much likelihood of it, really. I don't think either of them are particularly sort of attracted to it. And my son is sort of old enough now to know. I think he's already, you know, perhaps it's because he's my son, but he's already a bit too cynical about it. You know, when I was his age, I liked everything. I had no discrimination at all, really. I liked everything in the top 30, whether it was Acapulco or, you know, Bobby Darin, whatever happened to be in the charts at the time. Whereas he's already as selective as I am, you know. He won't listen to most things in the charts.
Tony, what do you hate or like most about me?
About who?
Me!
Well, I'm not allowed to mention that song, am I? No. The mic.
He doesn't like really kind of work. What irritates you most about me?
Your height. Your lack of hair. I don't know, actually, what can I say? I mean, you know, the guy's here.
So you talk about me behind my back.
I could be totally truthful if he wasn't here. I could tell you all sorts of things.
Would you steer your children away from the music business?
No, my son's 15. He's just forming his own group. So he's a very good drummer, and he's starting to write, you know, and he's interested in all that and recording himself. But I would not discourage, but I would be very realistic. So that, because he doesn't, you know, he thinks that I just arrived and here I am, you know. He doesn't know that you spend 20 years in the back of a van. Well, 15 years, because I'm only 25.
Look at that funky room! Tom, my 10-year-old, he's a good drummer and plays the sax. I mean, if he was keen, really keen, I'd encourage him, but I wouldn't go out of my way to encourage him. Mainly because I think, I don't know, I probably sound like the old timer who says in my day, but I mean, when we started, it was all a bit of a game. It was a laugh, you know. The idea you could make a living out of doing this never occurred to you. And now it's a big business. It's gone very serious.
I've all decided you've got to keep fit. I mean, I've been cycling forever. I mean, I've always cycled for years, you know. But to do it in the studio, I'd never thought about doing it during guitar solos, which in fact is a great thing to do because, you know, you can't stay in the studio while all that's happening. And Phil's decided he wants to sort of lose weight, you know, and stuff like that. So he was cycling around. I just cycle because I enjoy it, you know. In the studio, Turner's such a vegetable, really. There's no exercise at all. And so the cycling, it just sort of, you know, makes the blood go round a bit faster.
Do you compete?
Oh, there's no competition.
No?
I'll beat him hollow.
A restful-sounding song, originally called Nile, gets a Tony Banks lyric titled Fading Lights.
It kind of sounds like, you know, the boat going up the Nile and the slow-moving ship in the water, that kind of thing. In the writing process for us, so often we find things by mistakes. Someone hits a wrong note, and it sets you off in a direction that you hadn't even thought about going.
Another time it might have been so different.
When we're writing, Tony and I don't know what key the other person's playing in. And sometimes we come to record songs and I'll say to him, "Is that what you played? That didn't sound like that to me."
Now it's just another fading memory out of
combine the two parts, it makes up a nice sound, but individually, they're often quite different. And vice versa, he'll say, you didn't play that, did you? And it's just, he hadn't heard it that way until he isolated my part. And that's the kind of chemistry that I think is what is good about Genesis.
What do you think's your favourite lyric on this album?
The ones I wrote, undoubtedly, Fading Lights, which I wrote quite quickly, in fact. Nick calls it one of my terminal songs. I was sort of, I don't know, perhaps as you get older, really, you find yourself looking back sometimes and thinking about things that can't be anymore. And you don't quite know what's going to happen in the future, so you don't know quite what is the final thing. When you're actually experiencing the last time you ever do something, you don't know that it is the last time you ever do it, which is sort of interesting thought, I thought. And so I kind of wrote a song about that. And sort of just generally looking back, it's a nostalgic sort of song. I mean, it could be corny, but I think I was quite pleased with some of the lines in it.
It's just I don't think it would sound very good with drums.
No, I want this drums a bit power.
Fading Lights is about to undergo a drastic change.
The needle will be jumping off the record.
I often see solos as a bit like stories and things like that. You know, when I'm doing something like the Fading Lights thing, the reason I wrote the lyric in the way that I did in the end was because I thought the idea of the solo being a sort of example of a kind of life, you know, ups, downs and things going right and wrong and all that, is quite a nice way of doing it, you know. Because the way I write solos is they have a lot of variety in them, you know, don't tend to stay in one mood all the time, so you tend to get the different flavours coming in and out.
Fading Lights is nearly finished. Soon, the members of Genesis will be performing this music live on stage.
Is there a dream or a stage nightmare that you have?
Oh, dreaming, you go on stage, it's like the schoolboy one, when you go to school and there's nothing you can stop yourself from walking down the street, but you've got nothing on apart from a shirt and jacket. Nothing else, no pants, nothing. That's a famous schoolboy nightmare, I think, or a male nightmare anyway. And I think that's quite a common one. On stage, it's usually that kind of thing. You're standing there, you're singing, and you look down and there's actually you've got nothing on, you know. Or what we've all had individually is
when I get out on stage and either
you're trying to do a song with all the wrong keyboards, you know, and stuff, and the sound is just completely wrong.
or I hit the first chord. It's a fairly standard dream, I think. I hit the first chord and then no guitar strings.
And none of the leads are plugged. There's no leads. The leads are plugged into the wrong things.
And there's cries for Dale, or it's Jeff now. I forget what happens after that. I think I wake up, actually. Rolling Toms is now called Dreaming While You Sleep.
And you wrote the lyric for that?
Yeah, well, it started off, Phil used to sing Dreaming While You Sleep. And actually, Tony was going to do the lyric, because we kind of pick out songs we want to do, and he was down to do that one, which is fine by me. But then I had an idea driving along one day it's about a guy who hits a girl, hit and run, really. Didn't see her in the car headlights on a night in the rain, and doesn't stop. And he drives off and leaves her. But then he can't escape the fact that he hasn't told anybody, and he can't live with the guilt. So he kind of goes back to the hospital where she's lying in a coma for ever, I guess. I mean, she's still in the coma and the song finishes. And he kind of becomes attached to her. And his life gets linked up with hers, and he can't sort of escape, really.
While you sleep.
So cool.
All my life, you lie silently
idea, and then I persuaded Tony that I was going to do it.
What did he say to that?
Well, he didn't. I mean, he wanted to do it, but I mean, it's the way it works. I had an idea, and I said, "Well, let me try it, and if it's good, fine. If not, if it's not a great idea, then you have a go."
It was inside of me. Which I don't know how loud you're hearing it, but
I couldn't really work out what was happening in the chorus. I couldn't tell if it was him or just vibe.
All right, there was a good thing at the end of the chorus. Do you want to come and have a listen to what we got and so see what you think of the so you can hear what they sound like?
Well, I thought what it was. I mean, no one rang. It's just something. I thought.
Do you want to do another part?
Tony, is it true you've always had a fear of flying?
The first 2 or 3 times I flew in my life, I enjoyed it. And then the first time we ever flew as a band, we did a trip down to Rome, I think it was. And I found I was terrified, and I don't know why. I mean, there's nothing specific happened at all. It was a fairly gentle flight.
Heard it on the radio, saw it on TV. Could I take my secret to the grave?
You know, if I have enough to drink, I can be all right, just about. But I'm always conscious of it. It's the thing, if you stop concentrating, the plane will drop. It's a classic problem, I'm told. So you have to keep thinking about it all the time. It's very, very tense after a sort of 24-hour flight. You're still thinking about it, trying to keep that plane in the air. But it's true. You've got to think it. If you stop thinking about it, then it falls down. Sounds silly, doesn't it?
After all this time, Genesis still pay attention to reviews in the music press.
I'm always hoping that this will be the album, or what album you're working on will be the time when they say, "No, hang on, let me think about this. Maybe this isn't as bad as I keep writing or saying it is." But I think that time has long gone now. I don't think we'll get any more time or patience from music critics than we can expect.
Well, yes, but obviously music critics can change. I mean, music critics, they presumably can't be the same people there forever, We have in the past had some people who used to like us, and there may be some who come back again.
Very mellow from Tony.
I'm feeling mellow now.
Okay.
Fuck 'em,
We're all wankers as far as I'm concerned.
Jesus, he knows me, and he knows I'm right. I've been talking to Jesus all my life. Oh, yes, he knows me, and he knows I'm right.
Basic idea of the lyric was born when we wrote the song. And when you're working with the rough idea of Jesus, he knows me and he knows I'm right, which was the thing that was improvised, taking that along its logical conclusion, you end up with talking about someone that's kind of fanatic, I know what I'm talking about because I'm in touch with the Lord, sort of manic Christians, really. And I think TV evangelists sum up that because they're making an incredible amount of money fleecing people, 90% of them fleecing people. And they claim that because Jesus, they're in touch with Jesus, everything's okay.
God will take good care of you. Which is to do as I say, don't do as I do.
I like Jesus, He Knows Me, which is a much more cynical song, which is more cynical than Phil normally is. He's normally a bit more sort of genuine, And I mean, I'm a bit of a cynic myself, as you probably spotted. And so I like this sort of very cynical approach of that song. I like it a lot. And it sounds good too. I mean, that's the other thing about lyrics, got to actually sound good when it's sung.
Way that it goes, and I know I'm gonna tell you right now.
Mr. Davis. What's that? No, just say, do you want to come and have a listen to what we have here?
No.
No?
Well, that's the only track, isn't it?
Right. Oh, no, I went to that track.
Okay.
Huh?
No, well, I'll just not sing for a bit, I suppose.
Just stand there and sulk.
I get annoyed with myself.
Let's check the second verse.
Yeah.
There are 71 minutes of music on We Can't Dance. Some came easier than others. Some were very hard work.
You've got to be
Turn the fucking camera off for a minute. Just for a minute. Sometimes you get blocks. Like there was a block when we did BB Hit. For some reason, I was singing out of tune and I was getting very frustrated, so I went out for a bike ride. Came back and it was all right, really.
That was the biggest one.
Thank you so much for your support.
We've lost our way, yeah. Oh, I hope that you would be
that one, not that one. It's really
oh, so understanding, and by now you see that, oh no. So sad, so
What have been the highs and lows of this album so far?
Heads. Heads.
Heads.
I think the high points actually were Blue Jeans and I Can't Dance and Since I Lost You, because they started off from nothing and became something.
I Can't Dance.
I'll show you what's on it. How to construct a hit. Some money rolling in. Yeah, well, there's more noises. It's all out of the keyboard. Yeah, just sort of percussion noises, really. And it's just Tony playing it like a keyboard rather than like a drum machine, which is quite interesting. Then Mike.
We called it Blue Jeans because it was like the riff had a sort of feel a little bit like the sort of songs they use in jeans commercials.
The Hot Sun stuff, the Hot Sun, all that kind of thing, that was improvised, and then...
Yes, and the idea then was to write a lyric that was sort of, you know, took the piss out of the ads for jeans.
Tony grooving on this Rhodes here, which just sounds great.
About me is the way that I walk. I can dance, I can sing. I'm just standing here selling. Oh, I'm checking everything is in place. You never know who's looking on. The perfect body with a perfect face.
There's some bass here.
And it was actually done in about half hour.
And of course the drums on it, which are
And the
fabulous.
drums were actually not
actually
me.
keyboard drums.
I played the real drums at the end, but the slightly shabby stuff at the front is actually him.
I'm just standing there selling everything. Well, I can walk. No, I can dance.
Co-producer Nick Davis mixes the track Since I Lost You, and then the recording of We Can't Dance is all over.
To be honest, I don't really think about an audience till now, till the album's finished. I think, I don't care what they think really. It's very important that you don't actually give a damn about them, because you've got to make the record for you, and the record that you like, and the songs you like. And in a way, we're kind of so insular here that it's always hard when a record's finished. You've got to kind of hand it over. It's your baby, and you know, you're so close to it.
I prefer to think of successful in terms of it was a successful project, in as much as what we set out to achieve we did, and we got it to sound good. Then you let this baby go and let it run away and enter into the real world, and of course that's when people either buy it or don't, you know, as the case may be.
What stage are you at now with the record?
Putting the final thing together, assuming that we don't decide the order's not right, but I think we think it is right, so that's it. Right? Bye.
No trouble at all, no fighting. Never mind.
The trouble is, what happens now is that we finish the album. It means the good bit's finished and the bad bit starts. The promotional side is something that it's just, you got to do it. I mean, it's hard work. It's not much fun. The gigs are fun. So there's a big gap now until touring starts, when the work side is a little bit less fun. I've done the bit I like best, really. Done a lot of this, and I've got to do a lot of that.
Is it hard to think of album titles?
Tails.
It can be. This one's been a bit harder. They either come day one, very early on, like a song title, and you've got it, or you've got to hunt a bit. This one we've had to look a bit hard. No song title really came out. And it's going to be called Man and Boy.
Moment in time.
It's going to be called We Can't Dance.
You going, yeah? And you're going too.
Genesis are going too. They will play We Can't Dance on a 13-week tour this coming summer. See you then.